Oh, hi, John. I didn't know you were here.
Oh, the sexism. Oh, the sexism. Listen, if you're that terrified of a giant package, just call yourself Mansion Cinema and be on your way.
Hey,
all right? Thank you very much.
Right out of the box, ladies and gentlemen.
A giant package that helps people, I might add. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Hey, you made a good point on Twitter. You said it is worth remembering that every single Republican in the Senate is worse than Joe Manchin. A society where billionaires can go into space and veterans can go to food pantries is acceptable to them. That's true. And I said this again. The mainstream media does not focus on how 100% of Republicans are against all of the things in these bills that are fantastic for the American people. So the fact that we're fighting the Halloween creature known as Man Cinema, we were just playing sound, John, and Pramila Jayapal, who I do trust, who we did Seattle Sexy Liberal with, if you remember, she seemed very positive last night, because I don't know what to think anymore. What's in, what's out? Jayapal, is it going to be done? I mean, I hope next week.
Yeah, Pramila Jayapal being positive on news shows is what's gotten me through the last 2 months of my life. I'll be honest with you. I mean, she gets me through most things. But yeah, you got 50 Republicans who don't want to do anything to help anybody. You got 48 Democrats who want to do so much to help so many people. And you got 2 Democrats who want to do a little bit less. And so what we hear is these Democrats are such a mess. I mean, the villain is clear. And the villains here, yes, I understand why it's so frustrating, Manchin and Sinema. And they're awful, don't get me wrong. But please, the villains are the 50 Republicans. Mitt Romney, on his best day, is 1,000 times worse a human being than Manchin or Sinema. And Manchin and Sinema are pretty damn bad. But you got to remember, whatever they come up with in this thing, you're going to have ACA subsidies. You're going to have elder care funding. You're going to have, child tax credits, universal pre-K. You're going to have, hopefully, some kind of tax hikes on those who can easily pay much, much more. They're going to replace every lead pipe in America in this bill. And I promise you, a year from now, the rancor is going to be forgotten. They're going to be running on the record of the things they delivered, just like they're going to be running on the fact that they pulled us out of Afghanistan when every other president couldn't do it. This one did. The messy withdrawal, the ugly withdrawal, it's always going to be a horror show. But they did it. They pulled out. They're going to have something to run on in a year, and it's all going to come down to Democratic turnout in 2022. And I'll tell you, if these idiots really are the dog that catches the truck, Steffi, and they wind up repealing Roe v. Wade, they're going to see a midterm turnout like you've never seen in history. Yeah.
Well, I always say, you've always said they're never going to overturn Roe v. Wade, and this is why God made you so beautiful, because you could be deeply, profoundly wrong, John Fugelsang.
Well, I could be, but I still don't know that they will. I think most of these guys in the Supreme Court are cowards, and I think they know how destructive it would be to overturn Roe v. Wade. The GOP has used repealing abortion, ending abortion, as a money-making vote racket for the last 40 years of my life. Are they actually going to do it? I mean, then they're only going to have undocumented immigrants to raise funds off of. Can you imagine if abortion was illegal in all 50 states? How would these guys raise funds or votes anymore? I've talked to conservatives who literally voted Trump in 2016, and then they voted Biden in 2020 because they hated Trump, but they felt like abortion's a done deal. And I don't know. 77% of the American population support abortion rights in all or some cases. If these guys are that stupid, and by the way, that unbiblical, let them go ahead and screw around and find out. There's going to be a massive turnout in 2022.
Let me quote you to remind you how brilliant you are.
Oh, no.
You said, if you're pro-life but support capital punishment, preemptive war, torture, and drone bombs, you are actually pro-some life. Yes, you should be more specific, right?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it a lot, but this is the #1 GOP racket. Abortion, abortion, abortion. It's how they get all these alleged Christians to vote against everything Jesus talked about by talking about abortion, which Jesus never talked about. It's a racket, and I'm so tired of the Democrats ceding faith and spirituality to these Philistines the way they've ceded patriotism. I'm sorry, but I came on stage the other night at our show, and I saw hundreds and hundreds of people wearing masks because they care about other Americans, and they were vaccinated because they care about other Americans. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most pro-life patriot crowd I've ever played to in my life.
Yeah. And you were, by the way, a triumph, sir, a triumph. I will never get out of my mind you blow drying your penis in a public bathroom. That is something that you cannot unsee it. We were all nervous you were going to fall off the stool. It was a feat of physical comedy.
They like physical stuff, and I'm just like Red Skelton, except mine is about drying off my junk in a hand dryer and how horribly wrong that went in a public men's room. So yeah, but I'm just like Red Skelton otherwise. I also have to announce, I'm doing a new show for the Political Voices Network.
Yes.
The guy who's trying to kill you for the insurance money has been trying to get me to do this for a while.
Yes.
Our first episode is up. It's called Caffeinated, and the first episode is how to secede without really trying, and it's about all these patriots who love America so much they can't stop talking about seceding from America. There was a poll that showed that 2/3 of Southern Republicans think they should secede from the U.S. So I just kind of follow that through and talk about what would happen if they actually did it and created their Republic of Whitetopia, where Trump is absolute ruler. And I hope you guys will check it out.
Yeah. Well, ironic, too, Whitetopia led by an orange person, but okay.
Yeah, I know. Well, what kind of white supremacist, worships a guy who spray tans himself to be less white? You're C-blocking your own hate, gentlemen.
You also made a good point on Twitter. You said the Confederacy was hardworking white people programmed to be racist and suckered into fighting for the wealthy plantation owners, and it still is. Yeah. I mean, I found this, John, to be a particularly troubling week between the person at this Charlie Kirk thing saying, when do we get to start shooting? When do we get to start killing these people that, how many elections are you going to let them steal? Yeah. And just this Tucker Carlson propaganda piece that is really, I thought it was just me that I was like, wow, this seems way over the line of fire in a crowded theater. But when we mentioned it to Eric Swalwell yesterday, he was aware of it already. And I don't know have you seen the trailer?
Yeah, well, first off, I think the guy at the Charlie Kirk thing was a plant. I think that was done just so Charlie Kirk could get a soundbite. That's all these guys care about. There's a whole cult of selfishness, right? Jim Jordan and Tom Cotton, who does look like a constipated pencil.
Yes, you are the first one to point that out, and that is you're really correct, sir.
They're not actually mad at Attorney General Garland. They want to have a 10-second outrage soundbite that Laura Ingraham will play later that night. That's all it's about. They're all about selfishness. Their God is a selfish God. That's Trump. And eventually they're all going to turn on each other because they only care about themselves. So Charlie Kirk is to Christianity what Jesus was to being a racist liar. But in the case of the Tucker thing, I think he's bit off more than he can chew now. I mean, look, we didn't think O'Reilly would ever capsize. We didn't think Roger Ailes would ever capsize. And he who tucks has cast himself as such a smug, petulant, entitled little millionaire at birth villain here. At this point, you either have to just accept the lies or you have to leave the party. That's it. Yeah. I mean, people who support Tucker and Trump never get to pretend that lies or racism bother them, and they have to be called out by it and by decent conservatives.
The head of the Antidefamation League wrote to Fox, I strongly urge you to reconsider airing this program. It has the potential to fuel misdirected anger and unrest. Of course, there's the suggestion that January 6th was a false flag. The government was behind.
And you know why? Because there's a blonde in it who says some people think that maybe it could have been a false flag. So they're just putting the ideas out there with no evidence behind it. They're just spreading the rumor. Like I'm not saying Barack Obama wasn't really born here, but a lot of people are asking where is this guy from? Yeah. They're about spreading lies, spreading racism, spreading disinformation. And by the way, Lachlan knows it. Because this thing isn't airing on Fox News. It's airing on their new Peacock-esque digital platform.
Right, but he promoted it on Fox News. And, I mean, you got to the point where Liz Cheney says Fox is giving its top-rated host a platform to spread the same type of lies that provoke violence on January 6th. Geraldo Rivera on Fox News said, the record to me is pretty damn clear. There was a riot that was incited and encouraged and unleashed by Donald Trump. I mean, so this is not even, this is bipartisan at this point.
In the bubble, it's true. In the bubble, Fox News is number one with people who get all their news from only one news source, right? So in the bubble, this stuff is true. When they venture outside of the bubble and talk to, Americans, then it blows back on them. So again, they're just telling each other their little code talk words. It's not true. It's going to be recorded they were liars. And Tucker Carlson is clever enough to have enough plausible deniability. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. That's all I'm doing. He never has anybody on who could answer the damn questions. But Tucker's all about be on the right side of the lie line. He's not going to go all the way like Trump and lie, but he'll spread lies, wondering if there could be truth behind them. And that's how it's all the dopamine squirt, Steph. The worst drug in our culture is not oxy. It's the dopamine squirt of pleasure when you read something that makes you feel happy on the internet. And that's how Fox has rewired our racist loved one's brain.